loneliness. A word that echoes through empty rooms, silent nights, and unseen tears. It is a heavy weight, an invisible chain, a battle fought behind forced smiles and quiet sighs. Some of the greatest struggles in life are not seen but felt, deep in the soul where words fail and silence speaks the loudest. Maybe you know this feeling too well. Maybe you've sat in a crowded room, surrounded by people, yet felt utterly alone. Maybe you've scrolled through your phone, seeing smiles and laughter, wondering why joy seems to have forgotten your name. Maybe you've lost someone you loved, or maybe life just didn't turn out the way you thought it would. But hear me today. Loneliness is not the end of your story. It is not a verdict. It is not a life sentence. It is a season, and seasons change. History has known men and women who stood at the crossroads of solitude and purpose. Think of Nelson Mandela, locked in a prison cell for 27 years. The world had forgotten him, but he refused to let loneliness define him. He used his isolation to strengthen his spirit, to prepare for a future he could not yet see. And when the prison doors finally opened, he did not walk out bitter, he walked out better, ready to change the world. Think of Helen Keller, trapped in silence and darkness, unable to hear, unable to see. If anyone had a right to surrender to loneliness, it was her. Yet in her isolation, she found something greater than despair. She found meaning. She found connection. She found a reason to keep going. And because she refused to be defeated by what she lacked, the world gained an inspiration that still echoes today. Maybe you feel trapped in your own kind of prison, a prison of pain, of self-doubt, of feeling unseen and unheard. But listen to me, your isolation can become your transformation. The silence that feels like a curse can become the very thing that makes you stronger. Great things are birthed in the quiet places. Wounds heal in the quiet. Strength is built in the quiet. Diamonds are formed under pressure, not in comfort. Seeds grow in the darkness beneath the soil before they ever touch the sunlight. And right now, where you are, something is growing inside you. A new strength, a new perspective, a new hope. If life has led you into loneliness, it is not to destroy you. It is to prepare you. The very pain you feel today may be the very thing that shapes you into someone stronger, wiser, and more powerful than you ever imagined. You may be alone, but you are not abandoned. You may feel forgotten, but your story is still being written. There is purpose in this season, and if you refuse to give up, if you refuse to surrender to the darkness, you will walk out of this with a fire in your soul and a power in your spirit that no storm can ever take away. Hold on, keep going. The night may be long, but the sunrise is coming. Loneliness is not the end of your story. It is a season, and seasons change. It may feel endless, like a cold winter that refuses to let go, but no season lasts forever. The pain, the emptiness, the quiet ache in your soul, these are not permanent. They are moments, passing shadows, temporary trials that will one day give way to something new. Just as the trees shed their leaves in autumn only to bloom again in spring, so too will your life transform in ways you cannot yet see. Think of the darkest nights you have ever experienced. No matter how long the night may seem, no matter how thick the darkness, the sun has always risen. The cycle of life never fails. If nature itself follows this law, why would your life be any different? Seasons of hardship, of solitude, of pain, they are not meant to destroy you. They are meant to prepare you. The struggles you endure now are shaping you, refining you, strengthening you for what is ahead. History has shown us time and time again that those who walk through seasons of loneliness emerge stronger. Nelson Mandela, locked away for nearly 3 decades, could have given up. He could have allowed the isolation to break him, but instead he used the time to strengthen his mind, to nurture his vision, to prepare himself for a purpose far greater than he ever imagined. And when the walls of his prison fell, he was not just free, he was ready. Ready to lead, ready to change the world. The same is true for you. This season of loneliness is not the end of your journey. It is the training ground for something greater. Right now, in your quiet moments, you are learning things about yourself that you could never learn in the noise. You are discovering strength, resilience, patience. You are being molded, not abandoned. You are being shaped, not forgotten. Seasons change. The pain that feels unbearable today will one day be a memory of how far you've come. The emptiness you feel now will one day be replaced with a purpose so strong that you will look back and realize every moment of loneliness was leading you here. Hold on, because just like the seasons, your time will come. Isolation can become your transformation if you embrace it as preparation, not punishment. In the stillness of solitude, you are given a choice: to let it break you or to let it build you. The greatest stories of strength, resilience, and triumph were not written in moments of comfort, but in seasons of struggle. It is in the quiet, when the noise of the world fades away, that true growth begins. Pain has a way of revealing who we really are. It strips away distractions, removes false comforts, and forces us to look within. In this moment, you may feel abandoned, unseen, or forgotten. But what if this is not rejection? What if this is a calling, a moment where life is preparing you, shaping you, making you into something far greater than you ever imagined? Great warriors are not made in times of peace. They are forged in the fires of battle. And right now, in the depths of your loneliness, you are being refined. Think of those who have walked this path before you. Helen Keller, lost in a world of silence and darkness, had every reason to believe she would never connect, never belong. But in her isolation, she found strength. She learned that the absence of sound did not mean the absence of meaning, and the absence of sight did not mean the absence of vision. She transformed her solitude into a story of courage, touching lives across generations. Her loneliness did not destroy her. It defined her purpose. You have the same power within you. Right now, in this very moment, something is growing inside you: strength, clarity, purpose. The quiet is not a curse, it is an invitation to rise. This is where you learn what truly matters. This is where you discover that you do not need validation to be valuable, that you do not need an audience to be worthy, that your existence alone is proof of your significance. You are not lost, you are being prepared. You are not being punished, you are being positioned for something greater. What feels like an empty space is actually a foundation being laid for a future beyond your understanding. This is not the end, it is the beginning. Your transformation is happening now. Embrace it. History's greatest figures, like Nelson Mandela and Helen Keller, found purpose in solitude. They did not choose their isolation, but they refused to let it define them. Instead of drowning in despair, they used their solitude to sharpen their minds, strengthen their spirits, and prepare for the future that awaited them. Their circumstances did not change overnight, but their perspective did, and that made all the difference. Nelson Mandela sat in a prison cell for 27 years. 27 years of silence, of waiting, of wondering if the world had forgotten him. But he did not let that isolation break him. He read, he studied, he planned. He used the solitude to prepare himself for the day he would step out as a leader. When he was finally released, he did not emerge as a broken man. He walked out of those prison doors with wisdom, with purpose, with a fire that no years of confinement could extinguish. He found his mission in his isolation, and when the time came, he was ready. Helen Keller was trapped in silence and darkness. unable to communicate, unable to connect. She could have lived her life in frustration, locked away in a world no one else could understand. But she did not let her circumstances define her. With every challenge, she fought harder. She learned to read, to write, to speak. She became a beacon of hope to millions, proving that limitations exist only in the mind. She did not let her solitude become a prison. She let it become her classroom. And from it she emerged stronger, wiser, and more impactful than anyone could have imagined. Their stories are not just history. They are proof that solitude is not the enemy. It is a testing ground, a preparation phase, a season where strength is built. What feels like isolation today could be the very foundation of your future. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are in the process of becoming something greater. Do not waste this moment longing for what was. Use it to prepare for what will be. Every great leader, every great thinker, every great warrior has walked through the valley of solitude before stepping into their destiny. And so will you. Your story is not over. It is just beginning. Strength is built in the quiet. Diamonds are formed under pressure, and seeds grow in darkness before breaking into the light. Growth does not happen in comfort. It happens in the unseen places, in the struggles that no one else notices, in the moments when giving up feels easier than holding on. A diamond does not begin as something precious. It starts as a simple piece of carbon buried deep beneath the earth, crushed under immense pressure. For years, decades, even centuries, it remains unseen, hidden in the darkness. But it is in that very pressure, in that isolation, that the transformation begins. The ordinary piece of carbon does not break under the weight. It becomes something new, something unbreakable, something that will one day shine. A seed does not sprout the moment it is planted. It is buried in the soil, covered in darkness, left alone in silence. To the outside world, it looks as though nothing is happening, but beneath the surface, deep within, something powerful is taking place. Roots begin to form, strength begins to build, and when the time is right, the seed breaks through the ground, reaching for the light. What was once hidden is now growing, thriving, becoming what it was always meant to be. Right now, you may feel like that diamond under pressure. Like that seed buried in darkness. You may feel unseen, unheard, unnoticed. But what if this season of your life is not meant to break you, but to build you? What if this quiet moment, this isolation, is actually the birthplace of your greatest strength? What if the weight pressing down on you is not crushing you, but shaping you into something extraordinary? The world only sees the finished product, the diamond that shines, the tree that stands tall. But what truly matters is the process, the unseen battle, the quiet resilience that was built in the dark. Do not fear the silence. Do not resent the pressure. This is where your transformation is happening. One day you will emerge stronger than ever, unshakable, unstoppable, ready to shine. The world may not see it yet, but deep within, you are already becoming. Your current pain may be shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more powerful. It may not feel that way right now. Pain often disguises itself as an enemy, something to escape from, something to resent. But what if pain is not here to destroy you? What if it is here to forge you? Every person who has ever accomplished something great has walked through pain, not around it. They have faced suffering, not avoided it. And in that suffering, they discovered a strength they never knew they had. Your current pain may be shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more powerful. It may not feel that way right now. Pain often disguises itself as an enemy, something to escape from, something to resent. But what if pain is not here to destroy you? What if it is here to forge you? Every person who has ever accomplished something great has walked through pain, not around it. They have faced suffering, not avoided it, and in that suffering, they discovered a strength they never knew they had. Pain is a teacher like no other. It strips away illusions, it removes distractions, it forces you to confront who you are, your core. It asks questions that only you can answer. Will you break or will you rise? Will you surrender or will you fight? Will you let this moment define you, or will you use it to redefine yourself? These are the moments that shape destinies. These are the crossroads where people either give up or grow into the person they were meant to be. The greatest warriors are not those who have never suffered, but those who have survived their suffering and come out stronger. Consider Thomas Edison, who failed thousands of times before he finally succeeded in creating the light bulb. Most people would have given up. Most people would have seen failure as proof that they were not meant to succeed. But he saw it as something different. He saw failure as a lesson, as preparation, as part of the process. Every setback was shaping him. Every failure was teaching him something new. And because he did not quit, he changed the world. Your pain is doing the same. It is preparing you, sharpening you, molding you into someone who can withstand life's challenges. It is teaching you endurance, resilience, wisdom, qualities that cannot be learned in comfort. One day you will look back on this moment and realize that it did not break you, it built you. You will see that the pain you once resented was the very thing that gave you strength. Do not run from this. Do not despise this season. Every hardship, every tear, every sleepless night is part of something bigger. You may not see it now, but one day you will. And when that day comes, you will stand stronger than ever, not in spite of your pain, but because of it. The silence that feels like a curse can become the very thing that makes you resilient. In a world that is always rushing, always filled with noise, silence can feel unnatural, even unbearable. But silence is not emptiness. It is space. Space to think, space to heal, space to grow. It is in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when the distractions are gone, that the deepest transformation happens. Most people fear silence because it forces them to confront their thoughts, their doubts, their pain. They fill their lives with noise to avoid facing themselves. But those who embrace silence, those who sit with it, listen to it, and learn from it, discover something powerful: resilience. They learn that they are stronger than they thought. They learn that their worth is not dependent on the opinions of others. They learn that solitude does not mean weakness. It means self-discovery. Think of the greatest minds in history, scientists, leaders, artists. Their breakthroughs did not happen in the middle of noise and chaos. They happen in moments of solitude, in deep thought, in quiet reflection. Isaac Newton discovered gravity, not in a crowded room, but alone under an apple tree. Nikola Tesla, one of the greatest inventors of all time, spent countless hours in solitude, lost in thought, envisioning the future before the world could see it. They understood something that many overlook. Silence is not the absence of progress, it is the birthplace of greatness. right now. You may feel that silence is your enemy, that the loneliness is too much to bear. But what if this is where you find your greatest strength? What if this is where you realize that you do not need validation to have value, that you do not need constant approval to know your worth? This is where resilience is born, not in the noise of the crowd, but in the quiet moments where you decide to keep going, even when no one is watching. Life is not about how loud you can be. It is about how strong you can stand when everything is silent. The silence that feels unbearable today may be the very thing that makes you unstoppable tomorrow. The world may not hear you now, but that does not mean you are lost. It means you are becoming. And when the time is right, the world will hear you louder than ever before, not because you sought attention, but because you built something real in the quiet. You may feel alone, but you are not abandoned. Your story is still being written. There are moments in life when it feels like everything has stopped, as if time itself has paused, leaving you trapped in a place of uncertainty. You look around, and it seems like the world has moved on without you, like everyone else has found their place, while you remain stuck in the same silence, the same unanswered questions, the same loneliness. But this is not the end. You are not forgotten. The author of your life has not set down the pen. The next chapter is coming, even if you cannot see it yet. Every great story has a turning point. The protagonist always faces a moment of struggle, a moment where hope seems lost, a moment where nothing makes sense. But the struggle is never the conclusion, it is the setup for something greater. Imagine if a book ended in the middle of the conflict with the hero lost and broken, never finding their way. That is not how stories work. That is not how your story works. The loneliness you feel right now is not a permanent state. It is a passage, a bridge between where you are and where you are meant to be. Think of J.K. Rowling, who wrote Harry Potter as a single mother struggling with depression, feeling invisible to the world. At her lowest point, she had nothing, no money, no job, no certainty about her future. But she had her story, and she kept writing page by page, word by word. She built something out of the emptiness. And in time, what once felt like an ending became a new beginning. Your story is not over. The silence you are experiencing now is not the final word. It is the pause before something powerful, the quiet before the breakthrough. Right now, life is shaping you in ways you cannot yet understand. You are growing, even if you do not feel it. You are becoming, even if you cannot yet see it. You may not know how the next chapter unfolds, but one thing is certain, it is still being written. And one day you will look back on this moment and see it for what it truly was, not the end, but the moment before everything changed. Keep going. The best chapters are still ahead. Hold on, keep going. The night may be long, but the sunrise is coming. There are moments in life when darkness feels endless, when the weight of loneliness and uncertainty presses down so heavily that it seems like morning will never come. You may feel trapped in this moment, lost in the silence, wondering if things will ever change. But no matter how deep the night, no matter how long the struggle, the sun has never failed to rise. And just like the sun, hope is already on its way. In the darkest hours of history, people have stood on the edge of despair, believing that their suffering would never end. But time and time again, those who held on, those who refused to give up, found that their greatest challenges were not signs of the end, but signs of transformation. When Thomas Edison worked tirelessly to invent the light bulb, he failed thousands of times. He could have quit. He could have convinced himself that success would never come. but he kept going. He refused to let failure define him, and because he held on, he illuminated the world. You may not see the breakthrough yet. You may not feel the change, but just because you cannot see the sun rising does not mean it is not on its way. Sometimes the hardest battles come just before the moment of victory. Sometimes the deepest loneliness comes right before the greatest connection. What you are facing now is not a sign that you are alone. It is a sign that something is shifting, something is moving, something is preparing to change. Imagine standing on a mountaintop just before dawn. The night is cold, the darkness stretches endlessly before you. But then, slowly, the first light appears on the horizon. It is faint at first, barely noticeable, but it grows, it spreads, and before you know it, the entire sky is filled with light, and the night that once felt so endless is nothing but a memory. That is how life works. The darkness may feel permanent, but it is not. The pain may feel endless, but it is not. You are in a moment, not in a lifetime. Keep going. Keep believing the sun is already rising, even if you cannot see it yet. And when the light finally breaks through, you will see that every step, every struggle, every lonely night was leading you to something greater. Loneliness is not the end of your journey, it is a season, a refining fire, a moment in time that is shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Every great leader, every visionary, every world changer has walked through the valley of isolation before stepping into their purpose. It is in the silence that strength is built. It is in the struggle that transformation begins. You may feel unseen, but you are not forgotten. You may feel lost, but your path is still unfolding. The darkness that surrounds you now is not permanent, like the night before dawn, like the winter before spring. This moment is only temporary. You are growing, even if you do not feel it. You are being prepared for something greater, even if you cannot yet see it. The world may not hear you now, but that does not mean your voice does not matter. The pain you feel now will one day become your power. The solitude you endure today will become the foundation of your strength. One day you will look back and see that this was not the moment that broke you. It was the moment that made you. Hold on, keep going. The sunrise is coming, and when it does, you will rise with it, stronger than ever, ready to step into the destiny that was always meant to be yours.